But there are many, many days. I mean, you know, as a working woman, as a working mom, or just a person in general, there are just some days that I struggle to put sentences together. There are days that I will cry on the other side of the microphone just because it's just a bad day.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to hear that. And that's not my job. I'll commiserate, and I will make mentions of, hey, we're all going through stuff, but I would never put my own stuff on the air. And the beauty of it is, usually by the end of the show, I'm in such a better mood. Like, fake it till you make it.
Yes.
So I just love being able to bring that kind of positivity.
Hello and welcome. My name's Carey Sheffield, photographer and CEO of my own successful business. I'm also the host of She Networks, a great believer in lifting up women and loyal supporter to those that are around me. We're all surrounded by incredible women who are breaking the molds in this thing called life. Behind every successful online persona is a real person facing struggles, failures, and living real life stories that don't always have happy endings. We will have an honest conversation, dispel this myth of perfection, and find out what they consider a success, how they achieved it, and learn what they are still reaching for. You are not alone. Join the conversation.
I'm really happy that you're here, Jana. Jana Sutter of iHeart fame. Can I say that?
I heart a lot. How about that?
All right, iHeart a lot. Okay, but you are a vocal talent and broadcaster on many channels. Do you want to give us a little rundown on where you are?
I've been fortunate enough to be in the Orlando market for 20 years, which is kind of crazy in this industry of it's like 1 year and move on. But I found a home quickly here and loved it. And in that role was allowed to grow well beyond Orlando. So luckily I get to work in markets all across the country, from Portland to West Palm, like the whole country. I do about 35 different cities right now.
And it's amazing. This woman has just stepped off a plane and she bombed all the way over here to come see us, to sit in front of a camera as well as talk into a microphone. And talking into a microphone is what she does every day. So for you to come and do that with me today on a Sunday, truly value that you've done that for us. And I'm a bit scared now because I've actually got professional in front of me and I'm faking it till I make it doing this. But I think the reason I wanted to have you come on and chat, I'm trying to bring real women onto this platform and, just give you a voice, or the people listening to be able to talk to people that will relate and to share and not be so guarded and not hide behind their profession. And there are a lot of people that do what they do, but they never share it or talk about it in a human way. And I know that you will.
Yeah,
but
it's true.
And networking, we've come across each other through social media. And I know we met recently.
Yeah.
Did we establish how we actually...
It started on social media for sure. I think with your She Is Me.
She, All I Am Is Me group.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
And we have a lot of mutual friends from my professional life, from my personal life, from my friend group, from a bunch of different arenas. I'm like, oh, there she is, and there she is, and there she is. And over the years, you and I have started to talk offline, just in a very, I don't want to say commiserating kind of way, but like, stumbles and bumps would come along in life, and I'd be like, girl, same. And
Synergies, yeah.
Yeah, and you would reach right out and just be like, well, tell me what's going on. And so I think there's always been that really good energy.
Yeah, and I think authentic people come across others. That word gets used a lot, and I think that every woman that sat in front of me over the past few weeks largely has used that word. What does that mean? And now, I have this project coming up and you're going to be a part of that. And that's another reason why I brought you in here, not to talk about the project because that's personal to that, but just, I think we're at this place in our lives where we have no time for bullshit. And somebody else said that earlier. And what did
Cosign.
A previous guest was like, we get to a point and at the age where what was it? We have no fucks left to give, kind of thing.
Literally, I have given my last one out, and everyone else needs to just kind of be aware of that. Like, even like today with the travel and my flight being delayed, and my daughter, my 13-year-old, jumped in the car when I picked her up quickly and dropped her off at home, and she was like, I can't believe, like, the flights are just always late for no good reason. And I was like, hold on. there's always a reason. Safety usually paramount, and we don't need to worry about that. We're here. It's fine. Everything's going to get done. Let's not borrow trouble. That is not how I would have reacted 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Do you think our 30s, we were just racing through everything? Everything was annoying. Everything had to be done. Everything. Yeah, I have seen a distinct change in me. And also when I was rushing around and going crazy and trying to do all the things, I still do all the things, but I do it at a different pace now. But, and I am learning to go, do you know what, that's not important anymore. I don't need to do that. But my young children suffered as a consequence of my need to be everywhere on time and in a perfect state. And I'm sad and I can't go back. So if there's anyone of the younger generation listening, we have some experience.
Slow down.
And slow down, because you're not winning a race. This is not a race, and there's no medal at the end of it. And I think that we're missing so much. And I think all of us would sit here now and go, oh, if I could just go back. And I don't live in regret. It just goes so fast that we don't need to speed it up at all.
Well, and it's very much like getting on the plane today. People were like rushing to get on the plane.
Yes.
I'm like, we're all going to the same place.
And then rushing to get off.
We're all going to get there at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not going to be that person anymore. It doesn't serve me.
Yeah, you look very chill for someone that just...
I am a duck on the water right now.
Yeah, it was late. Yeah. And you need to be chill because you're a rock star. You're a rock chick working in the music industry. Tell us about you and how you got to be this professional person and this voice on the radio and this voice at Orlando Magic and revving up the crowd and meeting rock stars and hanging out with cute, musicians. Tell us about your life.
It's a perk. I have the best how I got into it story, only because it was so random. I won a contest through a radio station in conjunction with MTV to go to London to see Oasis Unplugged. They were my favorite band at the time. I knew I was going to win that contest as soon as I heard it, and I was a crazy woman. Long story short, I ended up winning it. I ended up getting an internship at that radio station, and that was 26 years ago, and I've never looked back. So I went from being a promo kid that was hauling speakers around to working overnights, midnight to 6 a.m., while working another job, and then just eventually just fought my way up to have this amazing career all these years later with iHeart for 23 years of those. So I've been very fortunate.
Yeah. And tell us a couple of stories along the way, standout moments for you that make your job just like, wow, did I just do that? Is that my life?
Couple. Not too long ago, I got a chance to interview Coldplay, which was really very exciting. Also, another big favorite band of mine, but they were so delightful to my daughter. And they were just, you could tell they were like dads and like caring and still genuinely enjoyed what they do. And they were excited to be on stage. And I'd been seeing them since they played a small club in Atlanta called the Tabernacle, and they remembered that exact show and all the chaos that was going on backstage. So I gave them a forum to discuss their memories, and they gave me a forum to discuss mine with them. So that's always been a real highlight. Working for and meeting Madonna is definitely one of those transformative things that happens, because she will suck the air out of the room as soon as she walks into it. Not in a bad way, though.
Yeah.
It's Madonna.
Yeah.
So I did leave radio for a couple of years, and I went to work for Warner Brothers Maverick Records. And she was the boss. Her name was in the Outlook. So I was very tempted to write some emails, but never did. And it was after that we were doing a meet and greet for her American Life album. And she did like a small personal meeting, and just seeing how she worked a room. She used my name back to me in conversation, Carey. Yeah. She would lightly touch me on my arm or on my back, just really went out of her way to calm me down. And I was that's really powerful.
So you met someone that we would all consider to be pretty untouchable.
Right.
She's Madonna, right? But when it comes down to it, she's just a woman. And I know that people get so famous that their reality gets lost. I think a lot of the time, I've worked with the royal family, I've worked with some really like big A-list celebrities just by happenstance, and actually, for long periods of time, you do forget. I have this weird kind of, this is going to sound really bizarre. Sometimes I look at celebrity couples and I wonder, do they treat themselves like celebrities when they're in their own home? This is a weird thought, you know, like this kind of like, do they suddenly just become, and they are just us.
Yeah.
But I think it's really lovely to hear about a woman being around women, or any human being, but being around women, especially as we're on a female platform, where they can just be human. Was there something... Did that feel genuine, or did it feel like something they'd learned in order to make the small person feel comfortable?
Well, I think that's what makes the moment stick out to me. So, especially with the case of Madonna, it felt extremely genuine.
Right.
And you hear all these horror stories of her not. And she is a tough cookie. Like, she expects a certain level from everyone around her. And to see her work the room in that way was really kind of cool. And now, like, in a full circle moment, she was roughly the age that I am now at that time.
Yeah.
So seeing her kind of come into this chaos situation and calm it down and control it, as we do now, it's like, oh, okay, now I get it.
And how do people behave around her?
Scared.
Yeah. And all of her people.
There's such an energy. There's such a buzz. Like, when your favorite artist is in the room, whether it's Madonna or Bono or whomever, it's like, there is a palpable energy in the room, and you can either let that energy completely Google your brain, or you can center and take your moment. And I'm lucky enough 99.9% of the time to center and take my moment. And you see people just lose it. And that's fun absolutely. Too.
So when you're doing, when you're presenting, say like for Orlando Magic, you need to be high energy. I'm sure there's a plan and you have a show schedule, but you're also going by the seat of your pants. You're working with what's in front of you.
Well, each of my shows are different. So with like Magic, here in Orlando,
I want to talk through who shows up or whatever section of the day. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and it's kind of ironic because it's very theater of the mind. I do a lot of the stuff from home. So with Magic and a bunch of my other stations across the country, it's a very at work, very chill, very easy, very, woman to woman. We're just getting through the work day together. We're going to talk about, maybe save some money, save some time, save some sanity, and play a lot of music. Yeah. And just make it very easy that way. My other show, my hit show, my XL 1067 show is a very high energy, very pop culture, very keep it positive, always keep it positive, because it's easy to talk a lot of junk in pop culture these days. But that's a much different beast than the other one, but it's subtle. So I plan all my shows out, what I'm going to talk about, but then at the same time too, you got to roll with it.
Yeah, and fundamentals, and how do you do your job? I mean, what does going to work look like for you?
Usually I put on yoga pants and head into my home studio, and I talk from about 9 a.m. until about 5 p.m. each day. I do roughly 7 to 8 shows a day in different markets and different time zones. So I kind of have a checklist just to keep myself sane of what market am I, what city am I in mentally, what's happening, sports-wise, what's happening weather-wise, what's happening.
That's a lot of information.
It's a lot of information.
Yes. And if you ever just gone,
yes, yeah, and especially.
And we'll play this song. Yeah.
Well, luckily I'm the music director for some of these stations, so if I want to switch it up, I can. And I just feel like the need to sometimes. But there are many, many days. I mean, as a working woman, as a working mom, or just a person in general, there are just some days that I struggle to put sentences together. There are days that I will cry on the other side of the microphone just because it's just a bad day. Yeah. But nobody wants to hear that. And that's not my job. I'll commiserate, and I will make mentions of, hey, we're all going through stuff, but I would never put my own stuff on the air. And the beauty of it is, usually by the end of the show, I'm in such a better mood. Like, fake it till you make it.
Yes.
So I just love being able to bring that kind of positivity. And whether it's singing along to your favorite song and dancing in the kitchen or crying along to a sad song, like, we're all just getting through it together.
But you have been through a lot of stuff. So can we talk about, you're a single mom.
Yeah.
Tell us how you got to that point. And then, talk us through that a little bit. So talk us a bit about your career journey and your life journey and to where you are now.
I mean, career-wise, I worked in a lot of different cities, and I moved about every year.
But so you got into radio through this competition, but being in broadcasting, was this what you always wanted to do?
No,
No.
not at all. No, my degree is in sports medicine. I was going to rebuild knees. So if you fall down, I'm your girl. But no, I really was very much a happenstance. I always loved music. My mother has an amazing speaking voice, which I always knew. I just loved the way that she sounded when she talked, but I never put it together that I could use my voice to do something along the same lines. So yeah, when the opportunity kind of came up, and it's not braggy, but it's just owning my power. A lot of people said, hey, you're really good at this.
Yeah.
You should think about going for this job. And so it's like overnights to mornings and mornings to middays and middays to more, and, you know, doing more shows and doing more things that, that turned into event hosting and stage hosting and doing music festivals. And I realized that I was very comfortable behind a microphone, but then that grew into being very comfortable on stage.
And it's changed a lot. Radio's changed a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So for people who don't understand, you need to have a big radio station and you'd have all the presenters. I've worked in a radio station and the presenters would come in for their different slots and yeah, you know, there's the prime time and he's the big celebrity. He's normally someone that was on TV once and then he's, you know.
Oh, yeah.
that's what happened when I was working in the industry.
Yeah.
But like you say, you're now working from home and programming. What's happened here? How did this all come about?
Yeah, I mean, you used to pull, used to pull albums to play.
Yeah.
Used to pull carts to play, and then it went to CDs, and then it went to MP3s, and now, like, when I first started working, I would have like full walls of music to pull from, and now it's all gone. It's all on the computer. It's all there waiting
So
for you.
traffic, which was what
Yeah.
people that used to line up all of the plays and then the ads and everything. Yeah. How does that work? Are you doing that or is someone else doing that?
No, I created, there's a program that I, you know, put the music together through and send it along, and then it merges with somebody who's doing the commercials, and it's always right there. I can broadcast from my phone.
Yeah.
These
You mean you
days.
have to be technically able.
It is kind of fun to nerd out on the tech stuff sometimes.
And do you have to keep growing and keep developing that and keep working on that skill?
Absolutely, and now more so than ever, it's fallen into social media. So it's not like I can't just take a selfie on Instagram and post it. It's like I got to get into video editing, I got to get into sound editing, I've got to learn how to do. So you're constantly evolving the skills of what used to be, you know, a person behind a microphone in a box with a bunch of records is now a person anywhere, and not just talking, but you've got to be visual and you've got to be creative and you have to do content and you have to also be on air and you have to be able to be 20 things at once, where it used to be, they used to call it 4 in the door, 4 hours and out the door. 4 in the door is gone. It's 24/7 and there are no doors because everything is very much with you wherever you go.
And it must take its toll on you. And how do you stay current and relatable and on trend?
It's a bit of, I don't want to say obsession. It is an ongoing, constant information.
Is it all about numbers still? Is it all about your listeners? How many numbers? I mean, is your success... I mean, how are you, you know, when it comes to your work appraisal?
There you go.
And how are they measuring you?
It is a bit of a hybrid, and it's also changing currently. We are still working off the Nielsen rating system in many markets, which is just that weighted number. There's a whole mathematical thing behind it, which I don't fully understand. But the ratings are that. But now you can track streams, you can track who comes in through the app, who comes in through their smart speakers, how long they stay, how often they dip out. So there's a lot more data out there that we're just figuring out how to compile for a more accurate representation of who's listening and when.
Yeah, and how is radio staying current?
Well, you know, I always use the analogy of like when cable television came along and people were like, oh, well, there goes network TV. No, I mean, network TV had to step up. So, you know, when HBO first came on the market and dropped Sopranos, okay, well, you know, NBC had to come up with NYPD Blue. Like, you have to better what you're doing. And I think there's always going to be healthy competition. Tech is very interesting. You know, we used to go from being a radio station that had a website to now we're an app that has radio stations. And so it's like you have to continually evolve with wherever it's going. But as far as like pop culture and stuff, I scan constantly. I just scan constantly. And sometimes that's exhausting.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I go home and I just want to put it down.
Yeah.
And then somebody's like, Ben and J-Lo are breaking up. You're like, oh, jeez.
I know, right?
Well, we'll
What's
see.
going on with them? Do you think it just got quiet and they needed to make some noise? I mean...
Well, that's the whole side of the business that I wish I had the blueprint for. I have seen stuff manufactured for press, and then I've seen real life happen, and people assume that it's manufactured for press. So, listen, media, PR, it's a big machine, and people are going to make themselves very much needed in whatever way they need to. I try to just lead with an open and honest heart, and there are some things I will call BS on and feel like that's not legit, and then there are other times I'm like, you know what, I just wish them the best, and I'll report what I can.
What was the hardest story you ever had to break on the radio? Or not break, or even talk about, or just,
Well, the first one that comes to mind is locally, and that was Pulse.
Yes.
And that was, I get that just thinking about it.
Yeah, and I just moved here then.
Yeah.
It was the year I moved, in 2016. Mm-hmm. And somebody died the day before.
It was a rough weekend, yeah. Christina Grimmie had been murdered at Plaza Live on Friday. Mm-hmm. Saturday night, in the early hours of Sunday morning, Pulse occurred. Mm-hmm. And there was even an event after that later in the week that just really broke Orlando's heart all over again, which we won't go into. But that was tough because I was actually hosting like a bridal show down on the coast. So I had to like host that show and then get in the car because my counterparts had been on the air all day. Yeah. And, you know, they had been doing a great job and they needed a break. So I came straight in. And at that time, people were still looking for people. Mm-hmm. And so we were just on the air. You know, we were off format. We just went on the air and gave people...
You must have known people
yeah.
and connected. Yeah, I mean, even I knew people that knew... Yeah, it was so... How do you think it was handled then and after, and the way it was communicated? Do you feel like it's impacted?
I will tell you what I do remember.
Yeah.
I remember the community and the way that Orlando came together and the way it was hot and people were just dropping off cases of water for people that were in line to donate blood and like all the parameters kind of got stripped away. Everybody went back to being human again. It wasn't about being boy, girl, black, white, blue, gay, straight. It didn't matter. It was like, what can we do to help?
Yeah, I remember I went down to Dr. Phillips. There was something happening outside.
Yeah.
And I was just taking pictures, and I took a picture of these two kids waving the rainbow flag, and the pride flag. And it just said, I think that was the first time in my life I'd really seen families teaching their children and showing it publicly that this was, you know, love is love and all those things. Yeah. And I mean, it's just devastating that something so heinous would...
Yeah, that one really, that one always gets me, for sure.
Yeah. And what about big time pop gossip, just like, you know, celebrity stuff? I mean, Britney must be good for good long chats on, not at her expense. I don't know how I feel. I feel like, I don't know if she's manipulating us or we're manipulating
I don't think she's
her.
manipulating us at all.
No.
The mother in me just wants to take her phone away and hug her. And I have to be very careful, and I say that on the air, but I have to be very careful what I say on the air because they're, leave Britney alone. I'm like, Britney can do whatever she wants to do. She's not my child. But I see someone who is maybe not okay. Yeah. And I just want to pull her aside.
And I know you, obviously this is the industry you work in, so you've got to be careful who you talk about. But yeah, I even see that with Kanye, having people with bipolar in my life. Yeah. And seeing people make dollars off of talking about it, or, you know, just mocking them or just fueling them. Yeah. There's people enable people that have serious health problems, and then they end up in a really bad situation, and we're like, oh, wasn't us. But, you know, like you're literally enabling their behavior by, you know, buying into it, watching it, encouraging it, supporting it. I mean, and I'm talking about people that are in their life, and not just us as supporters that are paying into that.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch sometimes, some of the self-implosions But like even in Britney's case, I mean, I think the first time I met her, she was like 15, 16, sweet girl.
Yeah.
Just full of energy. And now just to kind of get a small glimpse of what the reality of the story was behind the scenes, you're just like, oh,
but I think the life of celebrity, you have to be a certain kind of character. Like having, I have actors in my life. I have like fine arts kids, and the neediness and the ego and the wanting to be loved, and and there's a beauty of it too, in the creativity of it. But they're very fragile human beings, but also very incredible. So there's that. It's that two-way street. And I listen to podcasts, people talking. You must have it with people being interviewed. What is it about the talent that I do feel there's a lot of talent out there that are very fragile? Like you see people like Amy Winehouse. I mean, I know that was drugs and stuff, but you just think, wow, you're just incredible and you're amazing and you're just gone. You just blew that. Like Robbie Williams is a good example. I mean, he's doing okay now, but that whole machine, it's like they don't live in reality. I mean, maybe it's just for the cameras.
Well, there's a difference in realities.
Yeah.
And I will read an energy very well. I can tell you when somebody comes into my studio if they're going to be authentic, if they're going to be, reading whatever story they were told to read in the car on the way over, or if they're just lost in the machine. And I love when you can immediately get that, we're just going to have a great talk kind of an interview, and people that you wouldn't expect, just come in very real. And I love that. But more often than not, you will see these people that are already believing their own press sometimes, or they're just lost and exhausted usually, like an exhaustion. Like the schedules these artists keep, it's crazy. Like, I know we all work super hard and do many, many things, but then you throw in the planes, trains, and automobiles and the fact that they're never home and everybody's like sycophanting off of them. It's like you really see some, strung out's not the right word, but just some overly exhausted people just pushing through, chasing their dreams, but you can kind of tell they're already not there.
I know, it's interesting. There's something about being an actor and being a singer, being a performer, but now it's all about the celebrity of it. So there's two different roles there for me. And there are some actors, what's his name, the Oppenheimer guy springs to mind because...
I know. I can see his face now.
Yeah, Peaky Blinders.
Yeah.
Oh my God. He's got an interesting name, hasn't he? It's completely gone out. It'll come back to us. Yeah, hey, we're young women. That's why this is happening. But yeah, leave it in the comments. But because... damn it! Now I want to say what his name is. But he is Killian Williams. Yeah, Murphy. Killian Murphy. Yeah, thank you from the back. But it's about he hates the camera. Yeah. And I remember
but the camera loves him.
Yeah. Oh my God, right? We love him. But I remember Emily Blunt talking about him saying he's a brilliant actor. He's a really terrible celebrity. Oh, yeah. So I think there's two things, and now we're making celebrities out of people that have no talent, and so that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, we don't have that long.
No, let's talk about you. I know quite a little bit about you. That was the wrong turn of phrase. I know quite a lot about you. We've met and we've spoken, and you've talked a little bit about your life. Let's talk about you as a survivor, and as women listening, and we're not untouchable. Doesn't matter what life we live in. Yeah, and I remember it came to you in quite a surprising way. So talk about that for us a little bit.
I was actually doing an ad campaign with a local client here right after the pandemic was kind of wrapping up to remind women to get back in for their screenings. My mother had breast cancer, and I'd been working with the hospital for quite some time, so it was just an easy campaign. Sure, I'll go get my mammogram. We'll post about it. We'll do socials. We'll talk about it on the air. Done and dusted. And it wasn't done and dusted. It was very quickly realized that this was going to be a different kind of experience. So long story short, we did end up finding stage 1 breast cancer in just a very routine mammogram. And I've always had dense breast. I've always had to go back for the ultrasounds. I thought it was just all the same. And it wasn't. And I was very lucky in the fact that it was caught super early enough that I didn't have to do chemotherapy, but I did have to do surgery and radiation. And I didn't tolerate the medication very well after that, so I'm kind of living just, the best way that I can. But, as a survivor of breast cancer now, and a whole different kind of breast cancer than my mother. We did all the genetic testing because of my daughter. We don't have any of it, so a little bit of peace of mind there, but I think it's something that every woman needs to be really hyper vigilant about, standing up for your own care, because there were times when it was like, okay, well, we'll get you in, in a few weeks, or we don't have, this piece of equipment that we will have it by May. And I'm like, oh, no, we're not doing that. No. So you really have to listen to that little voice in the back of your mind, and you have to advocate for yourself every step of the way.
Yeah, and I was talking to a medical practitioner, and they were saying that I'm quite terrified right now, because I feel like people keep getting it wrong. Yeah. And results are wrong too often. And, I've just had a mammogram and that was all clear, but I have dense boobs, and I'm going to book myself for an ultrasound this week. Just pay for it, just go do it, why not? And I am at a bit of a higher risk, but also I had to have 2 biopsies recently for uterine cancer, and that came from nowhere. That was the week after I got the all clear from the boobs.
Right.
And I'm like, hang on a minute.
What is happening?
But what I'm concerned about is it being missed, and I think it's Glennon Doyle's sister, and I haven't listened to all of it, but I think she was misdiagnosed, and she actually has, and so so I need to, and then I was reading the comments in all of the, from their video,
on that
and
post,
yes, and I'm like, shit,
so many stories.
How do we know
and
we're
younger
safe?
and younger and younger too.
Yeah, and to find out 38 or whatever, you've got stage 4, like, you're in trouble. Like, right? I mean,
but you also can fight. And
absolutely. But you don't want it to be stage 4.
No.
What do we do? I mean, so you did that whole thing where you did this campaign and go get tested and all these things. From your experience and coming out the other end, how do we safeguard ourselves from misdiagnosis, things being missed? Do we go get a mammogram and then go and get an ultrasound? I mean, you are absolutely right, and this conversation has been had many times with me recently, that we have to be advocates for our own health care. And I'm not saying doctors don't care. I know that they're pushed. Like this doctor was saying to me that they have 15 minutes a patient. It's not long enough. They're being pushed, even though we're paying for it here, and we're paying a lot of money. It's a massive industry. I feel like that care has been left out of the healthcare industry. And,
I mean, it's definitely it's more of a business, and we care for it to be. But I think all you can do is have a doctor that you trust and like, and feel like you can talk to. So many people. I was talking with a girlfriend of mine over the weekend. Like, she hates her PC. And I'm like, well, why are you going to him then? Like, you can go to another doctor, like your doctor, feel like you can talk to them, feel like you're getting the information. And if you have questions, ask them. Don't sit on them. That's what I've learned. Like, even just like recently, you feel a little something, and it's like, normally I'd be like, it's nothing. And then it's like, these days, no, I'm on the phone immediately.
And so do you feel since this? I mean, we don't have to go into too much detail for you, but and I know you've probably talked about this a lot, but you were diagnosed, you had all the treatment, you still had to work, you're a single mom.
I took 2 whole weeks off.
Wow.
Which is insane to me right now. And that's probably something I would have changed.
Yeah.
I really would.
Do you feel like you're a little bit in denial about what was going on, and just because it came left field, right? You weren't expecting it.
It came completely out of left field on the tail end of a few other big personal tragedies. So
yes,
it was just like, oh, sure. Well, here's that other shoe.
Yeah.
But I had this career, and I was a single mom, and there was a lot of stuff happening, at work, stuff that I wanted to be a part of. And so, there was a little bit of denial in the sense of, I'm just going to push through this. Okay, it's fine. It's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. So I didn't take the time to really stop down and heal. I mean,
and I think though, having spoken to you and having seen you and got to know you, our radars have picked up on each other for this reason.
Yeah.
I think that when all the dust settled and you were out of everyone's range of being watched over, because when these things initially happen, everyone's interested in you, and then you just get on with life, right? And you just get on with it. I feel like when the dust settled a little bit, then you had then you
that's
fell
when you break
into
down.
yeah.
That's when you fall. When it gets quiet, and even it's just recently.
Yeah.
It's been almost 2 years to the day from finding out I didn't have to do chemotherapy, but still had to go through radiation. But in those 2 years, I remember very little of it. Mm-hmm. It was very much, just pushing forward and continuing to go and try and live this life and be healthy and, continue to do all the things. Yeah, it's not until like probably in the last couple of months that it's really hit, and I've really sat down and been like, what just happened?
Yeah.
But at the same time too, I'll use, my platforms and your platforms and everybody's platforms to be like, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I just had my recent scan, that came from nowhere, and I just took myself to a routine test, and when they said all these things, I'm still not out of the woods. I don't have cancer, but I need to now be hyper vigilant and take care of myself. And
I dance on that FOMO line though, Carey, I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm in between, like, oh yeah, I need to take better care of myself, and I need to make sure I'm doing everything that I could possibly do. And then the other side of me is like, I'm a 50-year-old woman and I feel good, and I'm finally, let's go live. Like, let's go do the things.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Book the trip and take the day. And so I dance between being hyper vigilant and also being like, YOLO.
Yeah, because this is how I felt when for 10 days where I thought they were going to give me the worst news that you could have. And I do feel like women of our age are all just waiting to be told we have it.
Whatever it's going to be.
Wherever part of us is going. And I know too many women that have had it or fighting it or in it. And I'm like, well, when's my turn, right?
Yeah.
So what I was thinking was, well, I'm 50. This is going to take 2 or 3 years out of my life. And if I'm lucky, the best case scenario, I'm going to come out of that. But I've just lost all this time to fighting this disease. And then I'm physically trying to hold myself together, and I feel like I've only physically got 5 good years left in me. Or I've had 5 good years left in me for the past 15 years. But you know what I mean?
Yes.
Isn't it?
Exhausting.
Yes.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting just getting up every bloody day. And this is why I want this. I want to talk to people and have real human conversations about, someone like me that is, making up my own broadcasting station so I can pretend to be a broadcaster because I really enjoy it, and then inviting someone who is a broadcaster on to talk about their life. But then the reality is we're just these human beings.
Yeah.
And I want to not knock out people's pedestals, because credit where credit's due, and I hold a lot of people in high esteem, but they are just real people, and I just want women to start feeling more relatable. I'm starting to be kinder to women. I think when women aren't very nice, or when they're being bitches, because it's a reflection on them, or they're insecure, or they're feeling some sort of way.
Or we've just been on guard for so long, forever. There's a beautiful movement happening amongst women right now. And whether it's, finding like categories or, like lifestyles, or just you be you and I'll be me, like we can all support each other. Mm-hmm. I definitely feel more of that now, especially being in a male-dominated field. If there were 2 women in the station, they were pitted against each other. Yeah. Now that's not the case. Now we're very much a united front, and it's like, okay, what can we do together? Yeah. That's been a big shift in the last 5 years, and I think it's conversations like this that also foster that.
And do you think that's a genuine feeling for the most part? I think in my industry, there's lots of female photographers. I've actually found it really hard here to make relationships with people. I've reached out to people. I've reached out on social media.
Peer-wise.
Yeah. Huh. And I'm not getting people want to hang out, whatever. The people that do want to hang out with me in my industry are people that are just starting out and they want to come and learn. And I'm more than happy to have that conversation.
I actually kind of like that role a little bit.
Yeah, me too. And I'm a teacher just by default, and I don't mean to. It's not like, it's just I don't realise I'm doing it. Even when I have somebody come to assist, I find myself talking through what I'm doing because I know that they're wanting to understand. But it makes me sad that people that are operating as I am right now are kind of just holding back. And I'm like, I'm not insecure. I'm not worried about you. Like we can be friends. It's okay. There's enough. I think my mindset's changed into abundance, and I've just told my daughter recently, do you know what? I've realized, and I think, this little life epiphany I just had, that there's enough for everyone. And I used to look at someone that was in competition with her and be like, go away and catch the flu. But now I'm like, no, do you know what? She might get this and you might get the next thing, but that's her. Pat her on the back.
Well,
Say well done. Yeah.
There's enough.
Yeah.
There's enough.
Absolutely.
I'm not out to take anybody's gig, job, interview. You get the interview, great. I mean, it happens all the time, especially with my priorities being shifted a little bit. I can't be at every single game. I can't be at every single concert. I can't be at all the things. So I love watching someone else step in and take on that opportunity. A, because they're going to learn from it. B, I might learn from them.
Yeah.
And then C, there's enough to go around. So whereas I used to be that person that wanted everything, mine, now I'm like, take it.
Why did that change?
I don't know if it changes with age or if it changes just with, my, obviously my life has shifted a little bit, just having gone through the last 4 years, like so many of us did. But it feels calmer, and I deal with enough like anxiety and deadlines, and everything's, has to be buttoned up in a certain way by a certain time. I'm not going to allow it to enter other parts of my life. No. If I can control the lack of that intensity, then I will.
Is that rubbing off on your daughter? Are you seeing previous Jana, like your anxieties and like the insecurities of being a teenager?
That's a whole other series you need to
start. I was like, girls in high school are just bitches.
Raising teenagers.
Yeah. Raising them and also sympathizing with them and also seeing how fitting in and wearing the right clothes. And, I know when we moved here with Alex, she was 14. She wasn't breaking any cliques. Like, she could not get girlfriends. Like, they would already be established. And girls are so mean. Why are girls so mean to each other? Why do we have to get to this age in life and realize that we need to be? Maybe, like you say, it's changing. Maybe we're going to be better at it.
I would hope as the older women in their lives treat each other better, that it will rub off on the younger ones. My biggest concern with her, and also being in the field that I'm in, feel somewhat responsible for it, is the constant onset of data.
Yes.
They're just getting pummeled with data constantly, every day, all day.
I remember in my radio training with Clear Channel, I did the advertising stuff, that somebody came over and he said that humans receive pre-social media and satellite, because I'm not old, they received 2,500 influences of advertising a day. It's not that anymore. I mean, what the hell is the number? How many times? I mean, look what happens. We have a conversation and then the ads come up on our phone and we know that we're being tracked and everything. And it
was super cute though. I took my daughter to New York for the first time back in October. And I was like, I'm going to take her to Times Square. She's going to think it's so cool. And talk about perspective. We walked into Times Square and she goes, Mom, it's all pop-up ads.
Yeah.
I never in a million years would have thought Times Square is a bunch of pop-up ads. But that's what it is. Yes. They know, the kids know they're getting hit with it constantly.
Yeah.
We don't. We're a little slow on the uptake sometimes. The kids are smarter than us.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And so you said earlier on that you're like, okay, this is it. So I know that you have a new lease on life and you're getting yourself back to, you're feeling yourself again and you're physically feeling yourself again, and you've been working on that because
physically,
when you're, and when you have health and relationship and you've had loss, I know everything about you you just stop taking care of yourself, and then we reach a certain age and our body goes, oh, by the way, you don't need to look cute anymore, we're just going to give you a big
I still try to look cute.
Well, you do now, but you said that you lost yourself a little bit, so now you're coming back to you. And the outcome, I think it was you in your leather pants that made me think about that. The leather pants were back on and you were out rocking. And what else is on your list of I've got to do this thing? What's next for you?
Definitely really focusing on the wake of what I'm doing in each day. Like, am I creating a positive atmosphere? Am I creating a anxietal atmosphere? When I put my head down at night, am I at a girl, or we can do better? And I think it's going to be a measure of both. But aside from just kind of having that mantra each day, I've got travel that I'm looking forward to, and, you know, showing my daughter a bit of the world, which I'm really excited about, and just actually taking time off, which is almost impossible in media. But I have some supporters in my company that are really working very hard so that I actually can take that time off and focus. And I always travel. There's a microphone in my bag right over there. Like, I'm always ready to go. And I'm learning to not do that.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to just more peace. And
is there anything creatively that you'd like to do that you haven't done yet? Or, you know, like some of us are like, oh, I want to write a book. Is there something in you that you like to do? Have you got an album or something that you want to bring out?
I don't know what it is just yet. I know there's something. I'm very much on the precipice of doing something bigger than what I'm doing now. And I'm trying to figure out in which realm that's going to be. I've been approached by a couple of different entities to do a couple of different things, but I also only have such a bandwidth. And as we discussed before, when we were younger, you're like, fill it, more. Now I'm like, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it right, and I want to make sure it makes sense.
Yeah, and you know, you're still young, and your daughter's still young, and she needs you still very much.
Yeah, I started late.
Yeah, but you're going to find a big hole in your time soon. Once they get in the car, I think, and start to drive themselves, and once that happens, and then they go off to college, and you're like, oh, okay. Oh, right, now I have all this time. And they need you in a whole different way then. Like, you know, it's like suddenly your relationships are secondary because their relationships become part of your life. I'd never thought I'd suffer the love life of my kids. But, and also just their career high and lows. I mean, in terms of you and what you bring, I'm so glad we met. I feel like we've known each other forever. And I know we're going to get to know each other even more. Agreed. And I'm looking forward to that. And it's on my mind. And, but this, you know, the world of music has you, but I think the world of women needs you more. And, well, you know, just because we need real people. And from all walks of life, doing all sorts of things, relatable women. And I think I pop up for some people because they relate to me, you know, and I sound a little bit different here, so people are more tolerant to listen to me. And for you, that you're going to have an audience, and they need you too. And there are a lot of people out there that are just swimming in the dark, and they don't have a network, they don't have people, they don't have a voice.
But they can always turn on their radio.
Yeah, exactly. So where can people find you? Talk about this audience, the people that are listening now. What's the station they're going to want to tune into?
You can, if you're
the program.
If you're local. Obviously, it's Magic 107.7 and XL 106.7, but easily found in the iHeartRadio app. So I'm on the 90s channel as the voice of the channel. I'm on Light FM, which is also just an ongoing channel with some really talented coworkers as well. So if you're in Portland or Las Vegas or West Palm, like, just put in iHeart and Jana, and you'll get many options. No,
I love it, and I have started to tune in. I got the app. It took me a minute to work myself out. And finding you, I'm looking at the app, and then I'm texting you, going, "What time are you on?" And I want to listen.
And playing some of your favorite songs.
Yeah, and playing
too.
some of my favorites, Mr. Big and Extreme.
Extreme.
Yeah, they're 1 and 2. I think they go like this, but I never tire of playing those songs. I asked you this question, and this is too many, and I know you love Oasis, but what is if you could use it as your alarm song, should I tell you what mine used to be? Snap, I've Got the Power.
Oh, wow.
That was my get your
ass
up.
That's like late 90s, early 2000s.
Yes. Wasn't it the best music?
There's some good stuff.
There's some good stuff right now, actually. I'm loving Teddy
Swims.
Teddy Swims. You met Benson Boone.
Doll
so
Baby.
Jealous. Invite me next time. Yeah, so there's some good stuff. I feel like we had a bit of a blur time for a few years, but maybe COVID helped the music industry a little bit too. People started creating on their own rather than...
You know, I just want music that makes me feel good and can help me get from one 3-minute segment of life to the next. And there's science that backs it up. Sometimes that's a great upbeat, like a Dua Lipa or like a super sad George Michael. Well, don't we all?
I mean, I want her body, and I kind of like her body, girl crush, but, you know, like, she's fit, right? She's in good shape.
A lot of yoga going on there.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
A bit late for me now, but yeah.
It's never too late. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Well, look, thank you so much. It's been lovely. I really appreciate you rushing all the way over here after your day today. But
my pleasure.
Guys, you're going to be seeing a lot more of her. She's going to be around for some other things, so stay tuned.
Yes.
She's definitely a very authentic lady.
You'll always get the truth with me.
Thank you.